Good afternoon. My name is Desi, and I'm one of the resident artists at Mount Sinai West. And today I'm going to show you one of the lessons that I would be teaching my patients. It involves parallel lines done with a ruler and basically different circles. You know, I've collected a bunch of circles that have been around the house. Ruler, this ruler is weird because it's an engineering ruler, but you can use, of course, any type of ruler, anything that's going to give you a dimension. I'm going to pick a 1/2 inch as what I would call the clicking of, of measurements of the parallel lines. The distance between the parallel lines per se. Anyway, and also some markers. I chose the most basic we could find around the house, either a sharpy or a uniball. By the way, uniball, my absolute favorite pen. If anyone has like very not strong hands, it really glides on paper. I use it for everything. I buy them in bulk, basically, but they're great for writing and for doing art. They're kind of like a gel pen. Anyway, I don't want to digress. I'm going to show you how I would create the lines. So I'm choosing 1/2 inch increments and just going towards the page. So you can see those 1/2 inch increments, and I'm going to do the bottom also. 1/2 inch increments. Alrighty, so now I'm going to take that ruler from top to bottom, look at the little click, the little pencil point, right? The pencil point on top, bottom, and draw a straight line. I'm reminded of the joke, can't even draw a straight line. Well, now we do know how to draw a straight line. That's in architecture school, they would say that to students they wanted to insult. Anyway, I'm going to keep doing this, and I'll be back with the finished piece, and we can resume to do our work. Alrighty, so we're back, and you can see all of the parallel lines nice and straight. I left some off because I really am not sure how big I want this piece to be, but now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take these jars or lids or whatever else, and I'm going to just outline those. And here we go. There's one of them. I'm just going to do this one. I don't want to make it look like a Mickey Mouse thing. That's not my agenda here. Just a bunch of circles, just bouncing around, different sizes. Now, you can choose any other shape. It doesn't have to be a circle. I just chose these because I had them around the house, and I'm trying to basically use what I've got rather than making things very difficult for me. I don't want that to be the case. So I have no set plan. I just am doing what I do, just making circles. Nothing important, too important. Alrighty. So basically I've got a couple of circles. I wish I had more sizes. Let's see, this is a cleaning jar. I think it's bigger than, and I'm going to put that. Wish I had a different size. Oh, there's a rock. Okay, let's see what we do with this rock. Isn't this a beautiful rock? It's like alabaster, but it's not. I just picked it up by the sea. By the sea. Oh, no, never mind. Anyway, so here we go. We have a little bit of, we have set up what I would consider is a composition. It's amazing how quickly one can create a composition out of thin air. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to fill in the lines. I'm actually going to start towards this area. I'm not as much concerned at the outer boundaries, but I am concerned about this area. And if you could picture a black and white interwoven design, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to basically take this and I'm going to fill that in. Anybody can do that, right? Now I chose black because black for me is kind of like the black and white, or the sort of the simplest non-colors. You guys can choose anything. Keep this white, right? And then have this be black. So I'm going to keep going with this at the outer edge of these spheres. And I'm going to come back with to you with a finished product as it relates to the outer border. So I'm just going to alternate black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, and fill in the border of these circles. And then we'll see what we can do with those circles, right? We'll see. So I thought I'd show you the process a little bit rather than showing it totally done, because I think it's this project is about understanding what is behind, what is in the foreground and what is in the background. Okay. So for example, the vertical lines are actually in the background, while the circles are in the foreground, in front. So what I'm doing right now is I'm weaving these lines so that if this is in front, right, and I'm cutting a hole in this circle, then that you're going to see that within that circle. And that's kind of like considered like an optical illusion. Your eye understands it as such, but this is just a flat surface. And I'm just playing with your concept of what is in the foreground and what is in the background. And artists do that all the time. They play with that notion. And somehow the viewer sees it. And I think it's really kind of interesting when when you're doing art, there are two people involved. There's the person who creates it, but what makes it interesting is the person who's viewing it. That person who's viewing it can interpret it in many, many ways. I had a patient years ago whereby I showed him something that was an artwork that was very, very highly realistic. And he said to me, well, what am I to do with this? And I said, what do you mean, what are you to do with this? It's rather perfect. He said, well, there's nothing for me to do. It leaves me nothing to the imagination. And I think that's very important as a viewer. You are given the license to imagine what something is, not having it spoon-fed to you. And I think that's something to remember when an artist is trying to deliver art to the viewer. They want you to be engaged in some way, in some kind of mental dialogue. So once again, you can see the black piece is behind this circle. Then I cut that circle and you can see the black piece, and then the circle is over and you see the black piece again. Then there's this different circle, you don't see that, and therefore you see it peeking out again. But so it's a weaving through these objects and visualizing them as if one is in the background, one is in the foreground. So now I will finish the background and then I'll come back to you. Alrighty then, we have now the background established. And now, because we did the background first, which are the vertical lines, the kind of zebra pattern, right? Now we can see the actual objects even more, and we can begin to see that, this kind of hole that we put in the circle, we see the background. So the question is, do I want to use black, or do I continue to use black in a certain way, or do I want to use some colors? And I thought, well, maybe I will use some colors, and I'm going to find some markers, and I'm going to come back to this, and I'm going to try to have different colors for each of the circles, so that it looks like these kind of balls that are on, basically floating in this background. So I'll come right back, because, sometimes we have to change our minds based on what we see. And I was going to keep it all black, but, black and white, but no, I think I'll bring some color into it. It's my prerogative. So here are some Crayola markers. They're kind of, they're children's grade. I always say children's grade versus adult grade. What I mean by that is that they're non-toxic, and they're actually, Crayola is pretty good, company, in that, stuff is well made. And, there's a lot of wonderful, brilliant colors. They're pale color, they're bright colors, what I call yummy colors, warm colors, and they're childlike in a way, colors that I equate with children, but they can also be really wonderful in art, in use of art, and making an environment seem happy and welcoming. And that's one of the reasons why I use these colors. Most of the time I shy away from black, but I understand that we're at home and we don't really have that much around us. I sometimes find myself with few materials also. So anyway, I'm going to start with, some of my favorites, like this blue. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do now as an alternate to this. So this kind of is an artistic tic-tac-toe in a way, and I really like that kind of effect, the tic-tac-toe version. So here I am going to do what I do the best. So I've got a light blue and I guess a darker blue. So if I were to picture that this is a blue form, and it's a bit translucent, I would actually see a little bit of the black behind it. So this would be a light blue, and this would be a darker blue, because the black is behind it, right? So here we are. I'm going to do this in light blue. and this in light blue. That little blip that is going to be in dark blue over there. So here we are, and these markers are great because they're very much like watercolors in a way to me. It's amazing how good they are. And this will be a darker blue, although I'm looking at it, it's not as dark as I would like it to be. So maybe I'll press over several times to get that effect. So here you're getting that kind of optical illusion that essentially this is a translucent circle, and you can actually see part of the black color is affecting the blue by being over it. So here we are, and then of course there's that little blip over there of the, so here we are, that's one of them. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just blues and greens, and only because I don't have a lot of variations. Well, actually, blues, greens, I'm going to keep it very cool. So that's what I'm going to do, blues and greens. All right, so I'll show you what this looks like once I've finished it. But the premise that I used over here is the same everywhere. The white seeps through, but the black, because it's behind it, is affecting the blue and making it a little bit darker. That's the simple directions. So here we have it. Basically, there's the background that is black and white, and then these figures that basically slide on top. Figures, when I say figures, I mean circles, right? There's a circle that has, like a Swiss cheese, it has a hole cut into it. So you can see the black weaving through. You can see the shadow of this translucent blue weaving through, weaving here, coming all the way down, weaving here, over. And I decided to just test out using different colors. It could have just been black and gray, or black and just blues, or black and green, and you just different shades of green. This could have been a painting. I basically could have painted this, and I could do even more, like really the outline of it, I could make it in white so that it looks like it's, or silver, the outline of this, I could make it in silver. But basically this is an exercise in understanding layers in painting, and having optically for you to be seeing something behind something else, but it's really not that. It's an optical illusion, and there's many optical illusions that can be made in paintings. This is just one. Anyway, I hope you get to try this. It's really quite simple. I try to choose things that are rather simple, and materials are rather simple too. Just paper if need be, a couple of markers, a couple of circles, and a ruler. And it doesn't even have to be circles. It could just be different forms, like that. Anyway, have a good evening. Bye-bye.